are watching the Fan Club.
You're watching the Fan Club.
And you're watching the Fan Club. Do you know what time it is?
And you know what time it is.
It's time for the Fan Club. Let's go. Hey!
I can't do this on my own, cause you know things ain't always sweet when you out here in these streets. But my morpher when it morphed, I made a fake.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fan Club. It is your boy Dan Brosnan in the building. Welcome to the show. I am so excited. Let's talk about the guests we have. Let's welcome to the show the multi-talented Randy Rogell. Randy is a writer, performer, singer, songwriter, and pianist who has contributed his remarkable talents to a wide range of beloved animated shows. He is perhaps best known for his iconic song Yakko's World from Animaniacs, which became a global phenomenon and showcased his incredible skill in rhyming and storytelling. Welcome, Randy. How's it going, man?
Gee, Dan, I think I'm going to make you my press agent. That's pretty good. What a delight to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hey, no problem.
I am overshadowed only by the great and talented and quite handsome looking Mr. Rob Paulsen.
Yeah. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incredibly Mr. Talented Rob Paulsen with a career spanning over 4 decades. Rob has brought life to countless iconic characters in animated television and film, from his award-winning performances as Yakko and Pinky in Animaniacs to his unforgettable portrayal of Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Rob's voice has entertained and delighted audiences worldwide. Welcome, my friend.
Oh my gosh, hello there. And I love what you did. You said Yakko's World was turned into a global phenomenon. I see what they did there, Randy. Yakko's World.
Very cool. That was not lost on me. And so the question is like, well, what parts of the globe did it touch?
That's right. Yeah, I know. Well, thank you, Dan. This is your auspicious entrees for both of us. Descriptions are far too kind, but we're very grateful that you lowered your entertainment standards for us.
Hey, I was told to always give roses to people while they're here, all right?
No kidding. And listen, I got one foot in the grave, so I appreciate anything that's still living. Thank you.
No problem. So Rob and Randy are here promoting their live event, Animaniacs Live, and it's happening Thursday, February 1st at the Five Flags Center in Dubuque, Iowa. Can you guys tell us a little bit about this event?
We certainly can. It's a fabulous show that's, full of wonderful, songs and music, but also animation. And then you're going to meet the talented guys who did the voices for that and so many other shows. Rob, of course, and then Maurice LaMarche, who is
our friend the Brain joins us. Marv.
Oh man!
Exactly. It'd be like saying you went to see Bugs on Broadway, right? Except Carl Stalling was there, Mel Blanc was there, Chuck Jones was there. It's just the original guys who worked on the show.
It's really cool because we're not a tribute band. I don't know that we've achieved enough status to become a tribute band, but let's just say we're the real deal, which makes it certainly more unusual than stuff like this. This is it's a pretty rare thing, Dan, to be able to have music that is inarguably iconic, and now we have a fan base stretching over 2, sometimes 3 generations. And it's a show for, as they say, kids of all ages. It's not a kid's show. This is not Yakko, Wakko, and Dot jumping around in costumes. This is, the star of the show is Randy's music. And what's really cool is you see lots of people, anywhere from 8 years old to 60 and change, singing Randy's music. It's really quite remarkable. I
think the original guys who were, Rob and Maurice were performing it is really.
Yeah, it was. It's a real rare privilege to be able to do this, and we have the blessings of Warner Brothers and Steven Spielberg. So it's a fun way to spend an evening for sure.
And I think the only reason they really gave us permission is because we were the original guys. And by the way, guys, it's a big comedy night. Come ready to laugh, because there's a lot of laughing in this show.
Can't not laugh. Yeah.
I'm going to be there. I can't wait. So you heard it, folks. If you guys are interested, we are giving away 2 tickets. All you have to do is like and share this video. So let's get into some questions, all right? Your careers have spanned multiple decades and a wide range of projects. what has been the most significant change you've seen in the industry during this time?
Well, for me, kind of what we're doing right now, social media and the instantaneous nature of being connected with fans, friends, and other artists, creators, I mean, right now in virtually real time, that's a really big deal. Technically, for me, it's more been about, and probably Randy too, more technical stuff. My process doesn't change. The way I go about creating a character, or interpreting a script, or interpreting one of Randy's songs hasn't changed. The recording technology is light years from where it was. You know, when we both started, it was engineers would be running a board with tape around their quarter-inch tape around their neck or half-inch tape around their neck and splicing the block, and so all of that's gone. But Randy can speak better to the technical aspects of the way music is charted and presented and printed. It's just way different.
Well, it's a great question, Dan, because we actually go into this during the show. At one point, we describe what's the animation process that comes back. In fact, there's one where our producer, Tom Ruger, great producer, he wanted me to do a song on the Spice Trade. I said, well, I don't know anything about the Spice Trade. And Rob does this very funny thing about how back in I had to actually go to a library and actually, because we didn't have Wikipedia, we didn't have Google, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have any, and so we talk about how that was done. Also, we had a live orchestra back in those days. I think primarily also because of Mr. Spielberg, but we had the Warner Brothers Orchestra. So you can imagine the quality of the music and the songs. And, nowadays nobody has that. They do everything with synths. So there have been definite changes, but the thing that, stays the same is the level of talent, which would be guys like Rob and Maurice.
That's it. I mean, that never, risk of being too existential. The reason Beethoven, Bach, Mahler, Debussy, the reason it sticks around, the Beatles, whatever, is because it's great music. That has nothing to do with the technology, whether it was written on a harpsichord or a lute or a flute or an electric guitar, it is, or a mellotron or the most sophisticated electric technology in the world. Music is music, and the way it affects people is timeless. And so that's kind of where we are. We know that as a result of Randy's music, we have something that will be relevant and entertaining and bring a lot of joy to a lot of people long after we're gone. And to have the privilege of performing it now, the way it was intended to be performed, is a huge gift.
That is excellent. That's amazing. I believe the actor that played Hagrid in Harry Potter said something like that, in 100 years, I won't be here, but Hagrid will be. And that's so awesome, man. So thank you for that. But next question, when you're preparing for a role, do you have any specific techniques or exercises you use to get into character? Or do you draw inspiration from real life people or from maybe fictional characters?
The short answer is yes. I do have little techniques and tips and things. In my case, I have a pretty strong improvisational background, and I don't really need it in terms of the way the scripts are presented to me in a show like Animaniacs or Randy's Music. It's funny, clever, smart, savvy, right on the page. However, what I think makes a character, whether it's animated or live action, is you create a soul for the character. And I find areas in the script which Pinky or Yakko or Dr. Scratch and Sniff in this context would add the character's own spin. And I come up with little ways to sort of colloquialize the characters. In Dr. Scratch and Sniff's case, there may be words that are English words he mispronounces because he's got this German vibe, and so I use those hopefully to some comic advantage. But also it ends up making a character in which, like Maurice, myself, Billy West, Frank Welker, Tress MacNeille, Nancy, we can riff all day as characters that we're well known for. Nancy could talk all day as Bart and not really reveal much of Nancy. And that's when you've got something that's authentic. It's so that's what it is. But Also, yes, and also I do. It is kind of derivative. I absolutely steal stuff. Like in the show, we talk about I stole Dr. Scratch and Sniff from Peter Sellers and
Quite
Dr.
a funny story. When you see the show, you'll see it. It's a pretty funny
Yeah,
story.
we all do, and we've been encouraged to do that by people who've come before us. I don't necessarily agree that there's nothing new under the sun in terms of performance anymore, but I absolutely understand all of us are inspired and affected in a creative way by many characters and actors and performers who've come before us. I don't know that you could leave a better compliment to someone who came before you than to try to, borrow from them. Yeah.
I love that.
If I could only add something to that, Dan, is that because Rob's absolutely right. They have such amazing, what do you say, stand-up chops, just to do improv and ad lib. That it's amazing to watch them. There's been times when it was Rob and Tress and Maurice on stage. We literally had to stop the show. We were the same say, okay, we need to get back to the show now. They can just keep going, and it's so funny. But I will say too, from the writing standpoint, these guys are real thoroughbreds. I mean, what they do, they're so good at. And so what I find is, like, as a pitcher, if I can just put the ball over the plate, when I write something, either a song or script, if you can write something of quality and just like get it over the plate, these guys are going to hit a home run. I mean, if you write a crappy song or what do you expect them to do? They'll do the best and they'll do something with it. But if you can give them something good, these guys will just elevate it to the moon, which is the real joy for me to see what they do, when they take what you do and then, make it so much better.
Wow. So it sounds like you guys are the dream team. We got the coach, we got the players. It sounds
great analogy, Dan. Great analogy. And the fact is that we all knew that from the beginning with respect to Animaniacs. We were all working on good stuff. Randy was writing on Batman, for which he won an Emmy, and we were all making a living. But when you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to sit back and go, oh my God, Steven Spielberg is running the show. Tom Ruger, who's already, created his...
On his 18th Emmy, yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah, and surrounded by people whom I've worked with dozens of times who are mind-blowingly gifted. It really was lightning in a bottle, and honest to God, we would have had to work to screw it up. But we were quite aware of the fact that we had a very unique circumstance with Animaniacs, and
everybody brought their game. But Dan, on the other side of this, for people listening, we'll go into the recording booth and these guys are cracking you up and laughing, but I can tell you they're deadly serious about what they do.
Yeah,
deadly serious. I mean, they really throw themselves into it. And if something's not working, they stop. They wait a minute.
That's right. I used to yell from the water tower and say, "Hey, who wrote this shit?"
That's right. We said, Rob, in the recording session, Rob, that talent that you had when we hired you, could you use some of that right now?
Oh my gosh. So I guess I'm going to use that to segue into the next question. Can you share a funny story from your time working on set? Has there ever been a time when a job took an unexpected turn or led to a surprising experience?
5 hours? Are you kidding? You don't have time for that. Good. Go ahead, Rob.
It's not being coy. It's difficult to specify one. I mean, I'd known Tress MacNeille since she was a cocktail waitress in Marina Del Rey, and she's now the most successful, prodigious, unequivocally top drawer female voice talent. Maybe voice talent
in history. I think given her credit, she's probably the most successful in history.
Yeah, and that's not by accident. When you're with Tress and Jess and Frank Welker and Billy West and Maurice LaMarche and over and over and over, Bernadette Peters and Nancy Cartwright, Chick Venera, John Mayer, ridiculously gifted people. And then you have everybody on the other side of the glass. I think every writer on the show won several Emmys, every one of them. Randy's music, he won, 3 or 4 Emmys for that. The score of the show, the late great I'm late, great Richard Stone and Julie Bernstein. All of them won Emmys. It's just, and then Tom Ruger, who created Tiny Toons before that, and Steven Spielberg. So
I think that Steven Spielberg kid, he's going to do okay, don't you think?
he's got a nice little 8mm cam, Super 8. He's going to do well.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, we had everything was fun. Remember, the job in our show is to be silly, to be funny. I always felt like if Disney was the happiest place on earth, Warner Brothers was the funniest place on earth. And the edict from the top, from Tom and Steven from the beginning, was to not condescend to the audience. It was all by design. And they were absolutely 100% correct. It's held up beautifully. The reboot did really well.
Yeah.
3 seasons.
Yeah.
And got nominated for another Emmy.
A bunch of Emmys. So yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, there's no, we are literally in the happy business. Like Randy said, we take it seriously because we want to be, we don't want to condescend. We know that our audience is smart. And ultimately though, it's about making folks laugh. And if we can make a pretty savvy audience with respect to the people doing the work, if we can make each other crack up, we're pretty sure that we're going to do the same with them.
I will tell you, one time I thought one of the execs over at Warner Brothers, and he said, Randy, these songs are, they're maybe too hip for the room. You should be writing songs more like Barney,
Oh,
No.
I remember telling him, I said, no, man, I said, kids are a lot smarter than you think they are. And
damn right.
fortunately, even Spielberg and Tom Ruger agreed with that, so they weren't able to force us to do that. But he was asking on things that took a funny bounce, Rob, which there's so many. I will tell you, by the way, during the show, you hear a lot about, Rob tells some really funny, I'm thinking of the Yakko balloon on top of the water tower. I mean, weird things that happen. But one for me, I don't know this one is we had that huge earthquake, which was like 30 years ago, 2 days ago. It was the 30th anniversary. And so my little boy at the time said, hey, Dad, why don't you write a funny song about, an earthquake? And my house had been completely trashed. I was saying, people died. How can I write a funny song about that? So I kind of wrote it off. I said, no. And I'm driving home on the 405. I'm just thinking about it. And I'm going, a quake. And all of a sudden, a quake, the house begins to shake. And I get this idea, right? Not expecting it. And I pull over to the side of the freeway on the off, like the little shoulder. And it just came pouring out of me. I grabbed it. I said, where's a piece of paper? And that, one of the very few times, the only time in my life, the song just came out in one, straight flow, and had a policeman come up to me. I would have told him, just write the ticket. Just don't talk to me right now. Let me get. And isn't that a weird one? That song came out right the first time, won an Emmy. So who would have thought that?
You never know when the spirit's going to move you, baby. So.
And by the way, one of the fun things about this show too, when you come to see it, by the way, you don't need to know Animaniacs in order to enjoy the concert. And you don't have to be a kid, like Rob said. Most of our audiences are adult, like in the 40s. But another thing that will be fun for you is you're going to hear songs you never heard before. It's just like, you want to hear the song that they killed, or you want to hear the original lyrics that they wouldn't let us do, or the original way we're trying to go with this. So you actually get to see how a show gets made, how a show actually happens.
Man, I cannot wait. I'm counting down the days until I can go to this thing. So our next question, it's a little bit deeper than the rest of them, but what was the biggest obstacle in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Well,
Randy you've got a.
Randy, for me, a little bit different than Rob. I had a sort of a weird track to get to Hollywood. I grew up doing theater, but then when I graduated from high school, I went to West Point, which is a military academy, and there's no any kind of theater. Everything's math, science. Everybody graduates, with an engineering degree. And then I went to live in Europe. I was a combat arms officer in the artillery, and came back. So and then when I didn't want to make the military my career, but I finished my graduate work, and so I got picked up by a corporation, And so for me, I was working in corporate life, doing well, but I wasn't, I didn't have the passion for it, and I always wanted to work in film and television. So when I can't, just got in a car and drove down to LA and slept on a friend's couch. and I began auditioning around, but I was also writing. And that was the hardest part for me. That was the biggest obstacle for me, was that nobody would take me seriously because they say, wait a minute, where is your directing degree from USC, or where's your musical theater degree or something like that, music degree. And so I kept writing. And at that time I was writing spec scripts, not music. And I was auditioning too, because I've done a lot of theater, and but nobody knew. But fortunately, one of my scripts hit, and I was brought on to Warner Brothers on Batman, and so I began writing on that. But then when I saw Steven Spielberg, I wanted to work for Steven Spielberg on this new Animaniacs show that they were developing, and so trying to break into that. I actually had to. That's why I wrote that song with the countries, to try to get into. So that was the most daunting thing for me, to try, to break into Hollywood, and I think that's what it is for a lot of people. But then once you do, then your life takes off. Anyway, Rob, I guess your turn.
I think the biggest obstacle probably was deciding to drive from Michigan to Hollywood, saying, okay, I've reached my potential here in terms of my background is theater and music and traveling around doing a lot of that. And there was a point at which I thought, okay, well, if you want to jump in the big kids pool, you might as well do it now. You're 21 or 22, you have no real financial responsibility. You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, certainly can't afford a mortgage. So I moved to LA, but I don't know that it was really daunting, because when you're a kid and you just want to be in the moving picture business, it's just part of the deal. Nothing happened that I didn't expect. It was and is absolutely super competitive, but so is trying to get into medical school or trying to run your own business. I was also surrounded by a lot of other people who had the same dream, and I was very smart in that I surrounded myself with people who terrified me in terms of their talent. I was able to say, oh, great, I don't know how to do this, what they do. I want to watch these people. And that was really smart. Because
very smart.
I still do that. Randy and I are both pretty egoless in this pursuit. I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. And there are people much more talented than I who continue to raise the bar. And some of them are coming into Hollywood this very moment. I might meet them in the next 6 months and go, God, where did this young lady come from? So it is the practical aspects, making a living while you're auditioning, your car breaks down on the way to your third callback, all that stuff happens to everybody. You have to wear a suit and for an audition, and you go in, but your car air conditioning breaks down and it's 108 degrees, and you got to pull over and change into your suit in the gas station, and there's a homeless guy in the gas station and he won't get out. I mean, all that stuff happens all the time. So it ultimately, in the moment, it's like, oh my God. But then when it settles down, you think, well, that's the way it is. Brad Pitt came here and didn't know anybody either, So it's just ultimately, it's been.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's just ultimately, especially now, as we're older, to look back and say, wow, am I ever glad that I didn't get freaked out by coming to California? My life is so much richer as a result of people like Randy and Tress and Tom, all these people who have had an instrumental part in shaping me. And I could not be more grateful for all the friends I've cultivated in this incredible experience.
If I can add something there, because I think you said some really great stuff. Number one, Dan, it's true. There are people who are more talented than Rob, but not many. And I dealt with them. Number two, what he said about that whole thing with the gas station, the car and changing, all of that crap that you go through, as we look back now, that actually is the good part. I know right now, and I'm saying this to people who want to make it in the business and break into whatever, if you want to be an actor, a writer, a producer, a composer, whatever, is that understand that you may think Hollywood is like this big brick wall with the moat and how you're going to break in, right? What it really is they're looking for you. They want you. It's just that there's so many people they have to wade through to find you. So you have to make yourself available so that they can see. That's why if we put out, we're auditioning for a voice actor for this next show, the line would go out the around the building 100 times. That's why we have agents and casting directors as filters. But just know that when we're sitting there and you come, I've run a television show, but a couple before, and when someone comes in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, please be good. Please be good. Because if you're good, my problem is solved. So, just prepare yourself, but don't think of it as like this is going to be off. And once you're with Rob, you're at the top of the mountain. He can look down and see what a wonderful journey it was to have to climb up here to get here. But once you do that, it's really rewarding. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think another thing that happens to all of us when you get out here, all of a sudden you're in Hollywood. You go into an audition, you say, "Oh my God, I recognize all those people from. What am I doing here? Nobody knows me. They're auditioning." They're working and they're auditioning. Surprise, the hustle never stops. And once I was able to focus on an audition and say, oh my goodness, I'm here with 100 other people over the next couple of days, but there are thousands who are not here. So I have already won because I get 5 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, to show these people what I can do. And that really changed my whole thought process about auditioning. It was no longer, oh my God, I hope I don't screw it up. It was more about, holy shit, I got 5 minutes. I am going to kill them. Because whether or not you get that job, these folks are at the top of their game too. And they take notes and they write stuff down. I've gotten so much work a year later. And it takes a while to learn that. But once you understand that there are 250,000 members of the Screen Actors Guild, most of them are here in Hollywood, and if you're a average-looking Caucasian boy like I am, then they could call up literally 500 people to come and audition for the part of the dad, whether it's with your voice or your face or whatever. So you have to understand that you've already won by getting an audition, and it's not about, I hope I don't screw. Everybody has that, but once you get past like, you know what, I'm so ready for this. I'm going to show them what I can do. You don't always knock it out of the park, and that is also not the end of the world. And it's hard to make younger folks understand that because everybody wants it so much, and you're surrounded by people who have at least commercial success. You see a guy out of he came to Hollywood with you when you were both 25. You're now 37, and at 28, he got a hit series, and now he's reading through movie scripts. Happens. So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I absolutely love that. And I think the main thing I took away is you got to respect the process and the grind. I relate to a lot of it because about 3 years ago, I quit my 9-to-5 to take this full time. And between this and I also run a successful DJ business. So like every weekend I do this. So like I fully understand there was a time when I was tired of putting my eggs in someone else's basket when if I just put them all into mine, I could really see the light at the end of the tunnel. So totally understand that. And for some reason, Zoom is telling us we have 7 minutes left before they're going to stop this recording. Okay. I don't know. I've never seen it before. It sounds like they want to upgrade me to pro now. Never heard of that, but that's okay. We're going to ask you a few more things and then get you guys on your way. Okay. So work can be work sometimes, but what do you guys like more? Working in the studio or these live events?
Oh my gosh. I can tell you right, doing writing it is the part where you go into that deep, dark place, yeah. Being able to perform and stand on stage with Rob and Maurice, no contest, and perform. Plus, remember, I don't get to see, I'm a writer, composer, people like me, we sit in a studio in an office. I never get to see the fans. Rob sees them all the time. So for me to stand on stage and see people reacting to what I wrote and what they're doing is a real treat for me. So that would be my vote. Rob?
Yeah, same here. Mo and I both have live performance backgrounds, and the difference really is that our audience size is bigger. When you're in a studio, your audience is your peers. You're trying to crack up people trying to embellish a script, make your character live more be more focused and be more organic, all that. But being on a stage and watching how people react to Randy's music is absolutely a privilege. So yeah, for me, there's nothing like the feedback from a live audience.
Yeah, I think that's number one. I just kind of wanted to hear what you guys had to say with that. All right, last question. I want to know just a little bit more about Animaniacs Live. What should attendees expect?
Jesus. Well, you better come expect.
Would you say, Robert? Laughter, fun animation, really great music and songs and fun laughter. And then, to me, the really special part is seeing these guys break into all the voices they do. When you watch Maurice LaMarche suddenly be doing all the voices from Futurama, the King and Frozen, Rob's doing Jimmy Neutron. I mean, it's just when you watch them to become these characters in front of your eyes. And these are the guys who did it. Like he says, not true, but Rob is the guy who created Yakko. And he created Pinky. And then suddenly you have Pinky and the Brain together, the guys who did it. Oh my God, it's really brings up the hairs on the back of my neck when I'm.
Well,
anyway, Rob.
Yeah, everyone will go home exhausted from laughing. And honest to God, Dan, I don't know that there is a nobler pursuit, especially in this time where everything is so wonky politically. Good God, the world is on fire, all of that stuff. And to come in there, it's nostalgic, it's hysterical, it's creative, it's inspiring. We meet people so often after the show who will be in tears. I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about 40, 50-year-old people in tears about my mother had ovarian cancer. And man, the last 6 months of her life, it was all about listening to United States, Canada, and Pinky and the Brain and all that. And then you start to understand this is way bigger than our paycheck. This is way bigger than ratings or merchandising. This is a pure connection between performers and an audience, ultimately both of whom are human, that is really defined by joy. How much better can life get? So we're very grateful, and you will leave going, boy, that was a cool evening.
Wow. I cannot wait for this. I will be there, guys. So
make sure you come back afterwards so we can meet you in person, Dan.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll send an email when it gets close, man. I just want to thank you guys, like, from the bottom of my heart. This meant the world to me. Like, this is just one of my favorite interviews of all time. So thank you guys for coming on.
It's our
thank you, Dan. Keep up the good work. Glad to see you're embracing your passion. And we'll see you very soon in Dubuque at the what's the name of the theater in Dubuque?
It is the Five Flags Theater.
It's the Five Flags
Center, but then they also have a theater right next to it. Yes, folks.
I'm telling you, we've had so many concerts right now. Sometimes I have to look and say, where are we next? What are we doing? It's a real. We're headed to Sheridan, Wyoming, and Loveland, Colorado. Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, your fans also have a wonderful opportunity to see you. And by you, Dan has done what all of us in Hollywood and New York do. We invest in ourselves. Dan is a wonderful example of passion, courage, but ultimately he has invested in himself. And that is a big deal. You don't have to be in Hollywood or New York or Bismarck. You can be in Dubuque, and you find ways to create. So well done, Dan. You are a wonderful example for your audience.
Inspiration.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. That meant the world to me right there. And hey, speaking of inspiration, you fans out there watching this video, you are the reason why we are able to do this, man. So thank you. You are the real MVPs. I want to shout out our guests again. Thank you for coming, and we will see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
I want to give a special shout out to the Gold Ranger members, the Arctic Operator, Roderick Ham, Papillon Oger, Salima Ramirez, Danny Nascimento, Stephen Heffelman, Chaos Draco, Thomas Franco, Ada Mae King Nick, Louis Cairns, Miguel Ortiz, and Sean Schiffer. Thank you guys so much for your support, and if you want a video shout out like this one, sign up to be a Gold Ranger member today. I just want to shout out all of the fans out there for taking the time out of their day to watch this content. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you can, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit that share button. And if you guys want to be a member, click that join button right now. We have a Blue Ranger membership that gets you into the exclusive fan chat Discord. Then we have the Gold Ranger membership. It gets you into the fan chat, but you also get a video shout out at the end of every video. I want to thank you guys again. If you can, sign up to be a member. We will see you next time. Peace.
Hi, we're Bulk and Skull. We have been requested by the fan club to say something funny.